When you have something to shoot for, it's amazing what one person can do. It's amazing the kind of story you can write. And here, in the Arizona desert, is where Austin Gutwein's story begins.
Hey, I'm Austin Gutwein. I'm a normal kid. You probably know lots of kids just like me. I didn't know what I could do. But today, I'm a part of an amazing adventure that has taken me to 4 continents, connected me to thousands of incredible people, and generated more than $1 million. And it all started 7 or 8 years ago when I watched a video, kind of like what you're doing right now. It was called Maggie's Story, and it was about a 9-year-old girl in Zambia who had lost her mother and father, aunts, uncles, grandparents, just about everybody in her life, even her little brother. They had all died of AIDS. I knew that Africa was on the other side of the world, but I kept wondering, what if I was a kid like Maggie? What if that was me? Right then, I knew that I had to do something, but I was just one person. I was just one kid.
He's always been a very compassionate, very driven type of child. And, you know, at the time we would say, Austin, you know, that man that's on the side of the street, he can probably get a job if he wanted to. Do you see the help wanted sign in the store over there? If he wanted a job, he could go get a job. But, you know, for Austin, that wasn't enough. It's just that he needed to do his part, and that was, Dad, you need to go back and give him some money. You need to go back and give him a bottle of water.
Around that time, a representative from World Vision visited our church, and we found out that for $35 a month, we could support a child with food, clothing, and education.
And Dan and I talked with each other and decided that we'd wanted to get a child for each of our children to sponsor.
We didn't want to have spoiled kids. That was really the motivation behind it, right?
Right.
We just didn't, yeah, we wanted our kids to see the world bigger than their backyard.
Through World Vision, we were able to sponsor a child. Ignatius was his name. He lived a world away in Uganda. He and I started to write letters. Dear Austin, I presume you are fine. How's America? On my side, life is moving on smoothly. As the letters passed back and forth, we started to find out more and more about each other. I've written this letter to you to thank you for showing me your love and friendship. And I started to discover the really hard things, the life and death. I began to hear about the pain in his life and how AIDS was claiming the lives of those in his community. In December, we lost our beloved worker, although we call him brother. He was 40 years old. I didn't know that more than 12 million children in Africa could lose their parents due to AIDS. That's a lot. But what could I do about that? What could I do to make a difference? I was just a normal kid, remember. I just wanted to shoot some hoops. I wasn't a star basketball player or something. Then we approached World Vision about how I could make a difference.
Hey, I just suggested he take his favorite sport and he use that to raise money to help kids around the world. Quite frankly, I didn't know if I'd ever hear from him again. And who knew that all these years later, he'd have the largest free throw shooting marathon event in the world.
So Austin started with one fundraiser, just one kid with one simple idea. Shoot hoops and get sponsors, like a walkathon.
Austin shot 2,056 baskets.
He called it Hoops of Hope.
We raised $3,000. Not bad, but I wanted to do more. The next year, Hoops of Hope raised $36,000, and we had over 1,000 kids across the U.S. join us.
And as if all this isn't enough, this year...
And then in 2006, an award-winning network television reporter named John Larson told millions across the nation about Hoops of Hope.
Seeing them surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of kids was really a treat, because I got to realize that this small idea, this small seed that he had planted, had really blossomed beautifully.
But in Africa, AIDS was still claiming lives and leaving millions of children without their parents. So that year, Hoops of Hope raised $90,000, which went a long way toward construction of a brand new high school in an AIDS-ravaged region of Zambia in southern Africa called Twachianda. The school would be the only one for 70 miles.
This particular part of Zambia is a rural community, and in the rural community, people are closely knit. But what HIV and AIDS has done is it has disintegrated that fiber that was holding these families together.
Now children in an area that has been hard hit by AIDS would be able to have hope through education. The next year, I actually got to see the Jonathan Sim Legacy School dedicated.
You know, the first reaction with something like this is to think, what an extraordinary person. And he is an extraordinary kid, but I think that's kind of missing the point. I think the point is much more, what can an ordinary person do?
Hello, hello. I can't tell you how excited I was to see hundreds of kids who would now be able to have a new school of their own.
Seeing all those people around Austin that day at the dedication of the school was unbelievable. It means so much to them. A school is everything.
Really hard. I could only stay a week. Yeah! Oh. But the problem was still there. In fact, part of the challenge in fighting the virus is knowing whether you have it. That's why testing is so important, and that's where we decide to work next, in the village called Sinzongwe.
We've been able to see great things happening here because we are launching a lifeline for the people, for the mothers, for the children who would have otherwise died of HIV and AIDS, but now we're able to have a situation whereby they can be able to test and get medicine in order for them to live longer.
So now Hoops of Hope would have a bigger goal, to build a new medical facility that would cost $150,000. But that year, 2007, Austin and his friends would end up raising more than $210,000. In March 2009, Austin got to see the new clinic dedicated.
You know, a young man aged 14 years old being able to raise resources to help mothers and children have a longer life. For me, it's just incredible.
1, 2, 3.
Has Hoops of Hope made a difference?
A big thank you to Hoops of Hope for saving the people of Sinzongwe.
I remember when I drove away from his house after meeting him that first time thinking, wow, I mean, what was I doing when I was 13 years old? Nothing was the answer. And then, of course, the next thought was, wow, what am I doing now?
I'm super excited, and I really cannot wait. And remember Ignatius, our sponsored child that had first opened my eyes to Africa? Hello, Ignatius. Well, we got to meet him on that trip as well. How are you?
You know, Austin was never great at sports. He's not a celebrity. He's not wealthy. You know, he's just a normal kid. And there's millions and millions of kids like him.
He's just willing. And I think that's all you need to be, is willing to be used.
So when you're thinking about, you know, what's this story tell us, think about Austin Shirley. About what one person can do to make a difference. But then think further and think about all the other people that share the same dreams and share the same strengths. And when we combine, look what can happen.
Hoops of Hope has just begun to make a difference in the lives of thousands of children all over the world. But it's really just the beginning. There are still millions who don't have access to education, healthcare, food, or even clean water. What will you tell them? What kind of difference will you make? Because every shot counts.
All I know now is that I have one dream for Hoops of Hope, that thousands of kids across the world can look inside themselves and realize with the help of God that they can make a difference.
There you go. There.
One kid, one person at a time. I can take my best shot. All I need is one ball, one hoop, one dream.
More!